Okay, that's reasonable. I have literally never done videos before on YouTube or anything like this, so this is really weird for me. Okay. So, about a little over a month ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It's still really weird saying that. There was lots of crying, and then hysterical laughing, and more crying, and there's like a week where I didn't do anything except for watch Marvel movies, particularly the Avengers Endgame, over and over, because it gives me the cries, so it helped me get it out. So that was fun. I watched that like literally every day for a week. So you're probably here either because you've been diagnosed with breast cancer recently, you're going through it, somebody that you know or love is going through it, you're curious, or maybe you know me and I can't handle all the questions, so I've sent you to this video. I'm sorry. I decided to do this videos, I should say, because I would like to do a lot of them. Is because when I was diagnosed and I started to do research on breast cancer, there wasn't a whole lot in the way of like YouTube videos and people chronicling their journey. It was more like, you know, somebody posts a video and then that's it, and then they just disappear. And there's all these people asking questions in the comments and no one's responding to them, and you know, because they're going through a similar thing. And then maybe that person posts a follow-up like 6 months later or something and updates everybody on what's happening. And that, for me, I thought that would be really nice if there was someone that on here that I could watch and watch their entire journey and all their appointments and, you know, the diagnosis and questions and everything about their pathology and surgeries and radiation, like whatever. And so I thought, well, maybe it will be therapeutic for me to do this, and maybe I might help somebody else. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to show everything. And I've been a professional model since I was 13 years old. I'm pretty comfortable with my body, so I'm comfortable showing surgeries, etc. And I looked it up, and apparently nudity is allowed, certain things, on YouTube as long as it's for educational purposes, and I would certainly hope that this qualifies. But I know that there's not a whole lot, like there's before and after pictures online, but it's not really, like, there's no describing like why a scar is where or like how something works, etc. So yeah, I would just like to show it all and explain it all. My journey so far has been pretty interesting. I didn't have any symptoms. I didn't feel a lump. I was just being proactive. I have a lot of pre-existing chronic conditions, and so I'm pretty on top of it with my health, because I've had a lot of really random medical stuff happen to me ever since I was a little kid. So I just went into my doctor for a regular appointment. I had prescription filled, and I just asked if I could start mammogram screenings. I had never had a mammogram before, And I thought, well, I should probably start having them done. No one in my family except my grandmother has had breast cancer. And apparently that's not a high risk factor because they consider high risk factors being immediate family members, which means it's either your mother or your sister. And everybody else is considered kind of like distant and inconsequential, especially since my grandmother was in her late 60s, postmenopausal. But I had a lump removed from my breast when I was 14. It was benign. I found it myself. They removed it. Everything was fine. But I thought, let's just start having this done. So I asked the doctor if I could have a mammogram referral, and he kind of scoffed a bit at me and went, "How old are you?" And started flipping through like my chart and everything. And I said, "I'm 42." And he went, "That's you don't have to start getting those yet. You're too young." So I thought that was a little strange. So I insisted, went and got it. They did the mammogram, which for me was not painful at all. It just feels like your boobs getting squished. They saw something. They did more scans, like an ultrasound, and looked at it, and the ultrasound technician asked me if I could feel a lump, and I said no. I do breast exams on myself, and I said I can't feel anything. And she showed the scans to the doctor. The doctor said, "Oh, there's something concerning. You need to come back in and have a biopsy," which completely freaks me out because procedures like that where I'm wide awake, I mean, I've had many surgeries, which I'm cool with as long as I'm asleep. I'm really weird about being awake and people cutting into me and like, no, don't like, no. And they did both breasts because they found a little something in one breast and they found something more concerning than the other, so they decided to be on the safe side and do biopsies on both. It was like, they said it would take like 3 to 5 days. After 9 days, I had not heard anything, and I thought, hey, no news is good news. And I called, and they had received a fax, which I guess he hadn't read, so his office manager left a note and told him that he needed to give me a call. So I got a phone call. So it was 9 days. I got a phone call from him, and he was like, "Did anybody contact you?" And I said, "No." And he said, just pretty blatantly just said, "Well, you have cancer." And I thought, no. I just went in, like, just for a regular mammogram, and cancer. I have cancer. Now, it's a primary care doctor, so he's explaining all this stuff to me, like, oh, they'll probably do this, and they'll probably do this, and you're going to need surgery, and you're going to do and all this stuff, and I'm just kind of sitting there in shock. I started doing tons of research and looking through my pathology and looking everything up, and unbeknownst to me until this point, cancer is really complicated. It can have all these different kinds of factors, and all those different factors and all those numbers and ratings and different tests that they do all determine like the rate of reoccurrence or your percentage of reoccurrence. Factor all of that into what kind of treatment plan, because everybody's treatment plan is different because everybody's cancer is different. So the hardest part was that my insurance and the plan that I'm on, which is an HMO, was trying to refer me to oncologists that didn't specialize in breast cancer. And then they were saying that there was only one surgical oncologist that takes my insurance, and that surgical oncologist, after some research, turned out to be an intestinal cancer specialist. And I thought, well, gosh, I can't wait for an intestinal cancer specialist to operate on my breasts. That makes sense. Really, the story behind this is that it took about a month of me calling all kinds of doctors' offices, doing all kinds of research online, trying to find other doctors and trying to find an actual breast cancer specialist and someone that's good. You really want this treatment to go well the first time because that really lowers your percentage of reoccurrence 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. Because once you have cancer, you kind of have to deal with it the rest of your life, and you kind of have to be on top of it, and it's just a reality at that point. Mine seems to, after research, been caught very early. I would like to pat myself on the back for that, because had I waited like my doctor suggested several years, I might have been in a very different situation right now. So I believe I am stage 1, but I have not seen an oncologist yet. After all of the phone calls and researching other doctors and calling my insurance, and I really had to push, and my primary care doctor's office manager is a saint. She is an amazing human being, and she really takes good care of me, and she put in a handwritten authorization requesting, like, pretty much demanding, like, you need to give her this referral to this other doctor. And so I finally got a consult with a breast cancer specialist. That's all he does. And all of the reviews of him online, he teaches other doctors, he's brilliant, he's kind, he's compassionate, and I'm really hoping all of that's true, because I will be so happy. The referral was just approved about a week ago. I have an appointment finally. So it's really now, like, even through the research that I've done, I've written down about 1 billion questions, which you kind of have to do. Because there's so many different factors, and you have to know, and because I have other chronic conditions and disorders and such, they will have an effect on my treatment, or what normally would be recommended for the kind of cancer that I have. They may not be able to treat me in the same way because, for instance, I have endometriosis, which, if you're a woman watching this, you may know what that condition is. It's when the uterine lining grows outside of the uterus. It can grow on any organ, and becomes inflamed and sheds and causes an immense amount of pain. I've had surgery for it, but before I had the surgery, I was put on the Depo shot, and I was put into chemical menopause, which caused horrific side effects. Bladder infections, intercourse was impossible because it was so painful. That combined with endometriosis, it landed me in the emergency room, and I almost died from a kidney infection. So that may not be possible, because what they usually do with a cancer case like mine is I have what's called estrogen and progesterone receptors, meaning the kind of breast cancer that I have grows from those hormones in my body. So they would normally have to put me on hormone suppressing medications and put me into chemical menopause. But from my previous experience, I've already done that, and it nearly killed me. It also damaged my bladder permanently, to the point that it gave me a new condition called interstitial cystitis, which flares up and basically you feel like you have a severe bladder infection 24/7 for a month straight when it flares up. So the last thing I want is that to be made worse, and for my bladder to have more damage. And so normally, maybe in a case like mine, unless they do something like a DNA test and they check for like genetic testing, like the BRCA 1 and 2 genes, and sometimes in those cases they suggest a double mastectomy because it will likely come back. In my case, because it's small and it's early stage, they might just suggest a lumpectomy with radiation and then hormone suppressants. But my concern now is that I will not be able to be put on hormone suppressants, so they may in fact suggest a total mastectomy. And I've weighed that, and in my head, as much as, I mean, some women are really determined to keep their breasts. I've watched other videos, I've heard from other women, and they were determined to keep their breasts, which this is all very personal. But with my other conditions, I can suffer on a daily basis. I have a vestibular disorder, I have chronic migraines, the endometriosis, the interstitial cystitis. There's just a lot of stuff going on where I'm constantly, having vertigo or dizziness, or I'm having a migraine, or, endometriosis pain, and etc. And so life has kind of been a struggle for me, medically speaking, already. And if I really have to weigh losing my breasts, as much as I don't think any woman wants to go through that. But if it's between that and my quality of life, it's not worth it to me. I really don't want these videos to be, like, how long have I been talking? Oh my God, it's like 20 minutes. I really didn't want these videos to be
playing from Galaxy
really
S9.
I don't want these videos to be, like, all of them to be really long. I would like to keep all of them kind of like 10 minutes, because I know it drives me crazy to watch like 20 to 30 minute long videos. I mean, I guess I could chop them up. Now I'm just talking to myself in the middle of the video, wasting even more time. So I plan on doing a bunch of these, and really like this kind of being like my journal for anybody else that needs help too. And so you're welcome to ask me any questions. I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. So I'll just be posting a lot more. Did I mention that I have never done this before? God, I'm an idiot.